Good morning. Welcome to First Edition. I had a certain someone who bragged on Tuesday about being in the studio before me, and this morning we actually had to wait on him. Hey, Shivago, how are you?
Good morning, Cheryl. Today for you, tomorrow for me.
Good. Well, in studio with us are two very special ladies. We have Dr. Anya Gibbs, who is the Director of Special Needs Education Services. Dr. Anya, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And she's accompanied by Mrs. Lashaunda Skippings, who is the Coordinator of Assessments in that department as well. Mrs. Skippings, welcome. Thanks again for coming.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
And we're going to talk about autism awareness because it's Autism Awareness Month. And special needs generally. And like we were saying offset, both of us have some kind of challenges. Yes, yeah. So we'll ask about that later on. But Dr. Anya, tell us, just give us an overview of what the autism spectrum disorder is and some of the characteristics and traits.
Okay, well, autism spectrum disorder is a neurodevelopmental disorder, and that is characterized by deficits of some sort in social interaction, social communication, stereotypical or repetitive behaviors. They can have deficits in their emotional responses, as well as some aspects of maladaptive speech. Now, not all children with autism or who are on the spectrum are the same, okay? And there are also levels to it, level 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 is just mild, so they require some support, but these children are can go to school like normal in the normal classrooms. They may have maybe some speech delays. They may have some problems, I guess, with social interaction or communication, but overall they're normal, right? And I have to stop using that word actually in terms of being normal. But then there's level 2, where they require minimal support, or sometimes they may not be able to go into the regular or general classroom, may have to go in a special class. And then of course those on level 3 requiring that substantial support. Those children may not even be able to go, to school. They may not be able to talk, a variety of stuff. And I want to say that all children on the spectrum, like I mentioned, they're all different. We can have the same diagnosis and it looks different. Okay.
Do we have children in Turks and Caicos at various levels now?
Yes, we do. And there are a number of children that aren't in school, that aren't accounted for. And I think that's why we have our department here now too, to sort of find those children, bring them in and see how we can help them as best as we can.
So good morning, ladies. Thank you so much for being here. I just want to applaud, the cause that you guys have taken on. I think as a parent, and I'm sure Cheryl can relate, we're all parents here, you don't really have a full understanding of this whole concept until you have children.
Exactly.
And you start thinking about, you notice everything from the second they're born, and all of a sudden you start tracking and you obsess about where they are, where they should
milestones,
be.
yes.
The milestones. So I look at it, I think it's interesting. We live in a small nation. Obviously, you've all gone on and gotten your education in your field and gone to larger nations where they have like greater understanding of this. But in a small nation like us, even the word autistic is still very, very new to us. We've used the dreaded R word back in the
stigma.
day.
Yes, very heavy still.
That's what I want to ask you guys about more than anything else, the stigma. Like me growing up in South Caicos, the whole concept of autism or even a spectrum, you were either the R word or you weren't. And then if you weren't doing well in school, it was more your effort that was questioned or just your overall ability to learn.
Or say the kid is special or something is off.
Yes.
Yes.
So my question now is like, how do we tackle this stigma? Obviously, we've come a long way. We understand what the spectrum is. We understand more about autism. But how do we tackle the stigma around learning disabilities, special needs, identifying a child on the spectrum, but still understand that they can lead a full life?
I think it starts with education, right? Education is where it's at. And we are people that can find information on everything. So why is it a difference when it comes to, things of this sort and special needs and mental health disorders? Because at the end of the day, and I've gotten this question a lot as a director in terms of being able to move from the Department of Mental Health over into special needs, and it's like it's a difference. It's not different. You know, autism spectrum disorder is included in the manual that we use as a clinical psychologist. It's a neurodevelopmental disorder. It's just that it starts in childhood, right? So there's no difference there for me, and I'm sort of used to that stigma being attached because mental health is the same, right? But it starts with education in terms of us being able to educate ourselves, being able to be engaged, and then when it comes to these children who, you know, they're just looking for acceptance, right? And you mentioned also about some sort of misconception that, you know, we can have, for example, a child who's on the spectrum. When we realize that they're smart or intelligent, they're like, oh, they're intelligent. I'm like, not all children have a learning disability or intellectual disability because they're on the spectrum. And to be honest with you, they're some of the smartest children that you can find, right? They're average, above average, and they're intelligent. Some are very autistic. They go on to lead full lives. They can have jobs. You know, it just comes from us as a community, us as a department as well, to provide those resources to help them to reach, you know, and live that full life that we talked about.
And you haven't just said that. I don't know if any of you have watched. I don't really watch, but I know of it. There's a program on television, I think it's on ABC, called The Good Doctor. He's autistic. And a couple of weeks ago, there were some comments that they shouldn't be portraying him like that because he can't do it. If he has autism, he can't be a doctor, you know. So there were people commenting that, you know, some were for and some were against, saying it sends this mixed message or the incorrect message. But I wanted to ask Mrs. Skippings, as coordinator of assessments, what's your role in the department?
So as coordinator of assessments, I am responsible for data surrounding the assessment of our students, not only in our public schools, but privately on all the islands. I facilitate the assessment process, and that is from liaising with the parents, the schools, the therapists, and I also provide feedback to our heads so that everyone is kept abreast with what is going on, the needs of our population, how these needs are being met, and the progress we are making.
So let's talk more about, I guess, and this will fall more on your role, like parents. So what should parents look for in terms of identifying or early stage identification of whether their child may have special needs, or I guess are teachers being trained to help identify, and then if they do recognize something, who do they call? Do they contact your office? And then what about these resources that are available?
In the schools, what we have recently started, the kindergarten classes are doing a developmental delay screening. So when they come, well, the government schools have started it. When they come in, they would do this screening. It's called the ASQ screening. And this would flag developmental delays. From here, this is where the guidance counselor comes in, creates a case, and the information gets forwarded on to the needed department. Sometimes it can be social welfare, sometimes it can be special education needs, or sometimes it is the educational psychologist within the Department of Education. So we are new in this, but we expect that in years to come, we will begin to nip it in the bud and be able to identify this in the early stages, so that, you know, the children won't be lost in the cracks, and we can begin to provide services as early as kindergarten.
I want to also piggyback, I guess, and touch base from a clinician standpoint in terms of being able to realize if there are some delays, and you can look in your child from as early as 18 months, right? You mentioned those milestones, and I always tell persons as a clinical psychologist, take your child to the pediatrician first. That's the first step, to see if they are at where they're supposed to be in terms of those milestones. Are they, you know, saying words? Are they making eye contact?
Right.
Are they embracing social interaction? If someone comes up to them, are they going to embrace them, turn away, that sort of thing? You're going to look for those things first. And as someone that diagnoses children with autism, the parents would call and they would say, oh, he's not talking. I said, okay, well, it can just be a speech delay. What else are you noticing? And I would ask them, you know, are they flapping their hands? Are they lining up cars, doing those sort of repetitive behaviors? Are they trying to engage with their peers in school if they're in daycare? Are they going up to them, wanting to play with them, wanting to show interest or share interest? I have a car. Do you want to see my car? Are they pointing to things to gain your interest in them, to say, Mommy, look at that car? Not even if they can't even talk, but to point, to say, show you something and share that interest with you. Those sort of things you're going to look for. When there is a change in their routine, I normally say a child wakes up and it's breakfast first, and the parent doesn't give them breakfast. Are they having a meltdown about it? So that it's that sort of like emotional response. So those sort of things, as well as a whole lot more, you can, as a parent, begin to pinpoint and say, okay, well, this is off. And for example, my son, I went through the same process. I went through the process to know what it is like in the Turks and Caicos, and this was 7 years ago. And the first thing that me as a psychologist, I said, he's not talking. He's not saying mama, dada, certain things. I'm like, and this is my second son now. He should be doing that by now. And that sort of started me to, okay, let me watch a little bit more closely. And then I went through the process of going to the pediatrician and so on and so forth. Yeah.
If you're just joining us, this is First Edition. We've got Dr. Anya Malcolm Gibbs, who is the Director of Special Needs Education Services, and Mrs. Lashaunda Skippings with us this morning. We're talking about Autism Awareness Month. You mentioned the kindergarten and the process that they go through, Mrs. Skippings, but what about the facilities in Turks and Caicos? I know of parents who literally just relocated to the United States. Do we all have to get up and leave, or what sort of facilities and assistance do we have here in the islands?
I know that, yes. We do have many parents that in the onset, and when they do find out, and it's difficult to get something in place or service in place right away, so they up and they leave. I believe it's the same process everywhere, because there are wait lists abroad as well. Here, our department, we offer comprehensive assessments, speech and language therapy, and behavioral therapy. That's newly formed and now being introduced, but formally, Oasis Behavioral Services, they provided behavioral services. Omnicare Medical also provides comprehensive assessments, learn and lead, individual tutoring. So there are places, and we do have to do our research and, you know, ask around. But likewise, anywhere else, I would say that there is a need for an occupational therapist. We do have a need for other specialists, but we'll get there. We're moving along well with the population that we have now. We service about, I think, 70. Let me say about less than 75, over 70 students now, and we have our department has just been formed and launched in February.
That's quite a bit, though.
Yeah,
for us. Yeah.
Yes. So about 51 students. We have about 51 students receiving behavioral therapy, not only in Providence, at least. This number is for the entire Turks and Caicos. Our behavioral therapist visits North Caicos and South Caicos and Grand Turk. Awesome. Our speech and language therapist, she was stationed in Grand Turk, but she is moving over to Provo. So her client load is a bit less because she was in Grand Turk and formerly under the Ministry of Health. So her client load is about half that of behavioral. But it is expected to climb and meet about 50 in the next 2 weeks. But yes, she also will be visiting North Caicos, South Caicos, and back to Grand Turk. And this will be monthly to meet the needs of the students there.
I was just about to ask, how do you service the islands? But yeah, thank you for
yes.
that. Dr. Anya, Z. Jolly just mentioned, you know, watching his children and their behaviors and, you know, those milestones. And I think as parents, and just merely as mortals, we tend to deny certain things. What do you do, or how do you treat a parent who is in obvious denial?
Yeah, I mean, I've had parents like that, even when giving a diagnosis of, you know, to meet it with complete shock, you know. But I would say to those parents, at the end of the day, the diagnosis doesn't change anything for you as a parent, right? And I think we need to move away from seeing a diagnosis versus seeing a child. If you had gone to the doctor and you received to say, okay, my child has diabetes, for instance, you're going to go out your way to figure out, okay, what does this mean? What's the treatment? And I think when it comes to neurodevelopmental disorders as well, we have to do the same. It's not to say, you know, my child is shunned or treat my child any differently, but what is it I can do as a parent to get those resources? Who do I have to call? Go out your way to, you know, do your research like Ms. Skippings mentioned, and sort of help your child, because I think at the end of the day, that's what matters. And you want to see your child thrive and grow no matter what the diagnosis is, okay? And so that's what I would say to those children. And I wanted also to reiterate what Ms. Skippings talked about. We only formed in January, right? I came aboard in January. She would have come a little before me. We only got our behavioral therapist in December. The speech therapist was here a year now, but like she mentioned, based in Grand Turk. So we are a small department, but we are on one accord, and it's a collective effort. We all come together. This is the problem. How are we going to address this? And we have a very vibrant minister, as you know, the Honorable Rachel Taylor, and she's a pusher, and I think she has great confidence in us. It's what she's been
and
seen
she's very
so
much
far.
involved.
Very much. We take initiative. She doesn't have to tell us to do something. You know, we are parents at the end of the day too. We are clinicians. We are educators. So we know we've been here. And I wanted to say, you mentioned a lot of persons moving away. That was prior to us, right? Now, what we're going to do in the future, we are going to provide those resources. We're going to get a school, actually. A couple of years from now, soon. I want to say soon. A special education center where it could be a one-stop shop where we'll have those children, like for the SNAP Center, to move there, and they'll have their intensive, you know, classes, and we'll have more children who are on the moderate to severe level of autism, for example, to be based there. But we also have our clinicians based, our speech therapists, our behavioral therapists. We are looking for occupational therapists now. We're going to get a principal for the school as well, and then we'll have those persons from the community bring their children there for their services. We don't want to take all our kids out of the school, because inclusion is what this is about. But getting them that extra support that they need to send them back into the school to function, you know, with their peers.
So it sounds like you guys have really big plans. I'm very impressed. I want to stay on the parents a little bit and talk more about the mental health side of it from your expertise, obviously. So we talked about how just difficult it is being a parent in general, even just the risk, the physical health risk involved from having a child, and the physical screenings, and how stressful this can be. I mean, once you've passed that diagnosis stage and you've confirmed that your child is definitely on the spectrum and has particular special needs. Now, it's so funny you talk about your son, your oldest son, having speech delay. Even my son Eli, we struggle with this, and it's so scary as a parent. And like the worst part about it, you know, we talked about the stigma too, and even the older generations, you know, the first thing they start talking about, you know, something happened during pregnancy, or, you know, you let that child walk around bare feet, now they got. So it's always something. Y'all know. But I want to talk about what parents can do to kind of manage the stress that comes along with parenting a child with special needs or that's on the spectrum, because you guys are relatively new. So I know there are more things to come, but what can parents who are currently in this situation, obviously those that would have moved away, but there are parents who are still here, and they're going to piggyback, or they're going to feed into whatever services you guys continue to add. But what can they do now to help manage the stress, or just manage the overall, I don't want to say burden, because being a parent,
anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. The
And
anxiety,
frustration.
is difficult, just being a parent in general. So what can they do? How can they help to manage?
Well, I believe it all ties back into self-care in terms of taking care of yourself, being able to take breaks, being able to find things that bring you joy, leaning on your family. You know, we used to be a country to see.
Close-knit family.
I mean, we still have those close-knit families here. But to be able to, you know, reach out and say that I do need help. Now, the Department of Behavioral Health Services, now, you know, that's my past department, they're there, you know, and they do have support groups. I know when I was there, they had support groups, and I'm pretty sure they still do that. But that's something that is on our sort of mandate as well, to have parent support groups, because that's one of our KPIs actually, to host these groups, host these parent support groups for our parents to be able to receive some assistance that's tied into their mental health, right? And I'm like you mentioned, it can be anxiety provoking. It can be frustrating, having been there myself, you know, wondering what's next and, you know, how do we help? And I think for a long time, as a country, we've been so assessment based. We're bringing in these specialists. We're still bringing in these specialists, right? But what happens next? It's like I have this child, and what happens next? And I think that's where our department comes in. And I always say we're service based. You know, we fill that gap in terms of from diagnosis. Okay, now what happens? That's why we're here, sort of fill those gaps and to help those parents. So not just the children, but the parents, in terms of providing some support. And if that means recommending counseling, if that means leaning on your pastor for pastoral counseling, that sort of thing. Reach out and, you know, try to find those resources that can be utilized.
Yes. And then it all goes back to staying abreast with what is going on in the community, because Oasis Behavioral Services actually has an upcoming behavioral training for parents that have students with behavioral deficits.
And A2 does the same.
There was one I think it was last year, that's focused on potty training of students with special needs. Oh, that's awesome. And the upcoming one for behavior, that one is free.
Next week, the 10th and 11th of April.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Yes.
It's Autism Awareness Month. What sort of plans do you have for the month?
So, I'm happy you asked. Fridays, we're going to dedicate Fridays to Fridays in Blue, and we're going to be wearing blue to spread awareness of
and is that any
autism.
Shade of blue?
Any shade of blue.
Blue is the color.
The more shades, the merrier. So we also will have an Autism Awareness Fun Day at SNAP on the 26th of April.
It's a Friday.
Yes, and we will be inviting all of the students from the Special Education Needs resource rooms here on Island. And on the 27th, we have a rainbow walk.
Okay.
We are walking from CIBC to SNAP at 6 a.m. Registration is free. You get a free T-shirt. Come on out.
Yes.
Like
we want looking for big support.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And it's rainbow, so all colors.
Yes. So you can look us up. We now have a Facebook page and an Instagram page. You can look us up, register, and join.
Y'all on social media?
Oh,
Yes, just this week.
Fresh, new kids on the block.
You've arrived. You talked about all the things that your department offers and the services that you give, but what is it that we, as parents, as a community and society, can do to help you?
I mean, I believe it goes back to reaching out to us and seeing how you can offer your assistance. One of our main components of the department is the SNAP Center, and I'm pleased to say that they receive a lot of support.
Great.
Organizations. I can point some out.
Parents
as well, but a lot of organizations like Seven Stars, Waimara, Beaches, Inton Health Canada, everyone reaches out, want to sponsor, wanting to help, wanting to assist. And I believe parents, we have to be advocates, you know, standing up in this fight, joining in this fight, and also seeing how you can do, not just for your child, but for the department, for the country as a whole, right? Anything you want to add?
And I would say also being understanding and embracing the needs of those around you, not casting judgment and not treating others differently, but providing support for those that are in need.
So what is the Department of Special Needs, like what's on the top of your wish list? Like we always ask the various departments and department heads when they come in there now, we understand there's budgetary restrictions, but let's just imagine for a day there were no budgetary restrictions and they gave the Department of Special Needs a blank
Well, I would
check.
say manpower.
Yes.
Human resources.
Yes, I would say
Yeah.
manpower. I mean, she
We do
mentioned
need more
having
specialists.
that one behavioral therapist, that one speech therapist that cannot
Yeah.
do the
Need
job.
more.
They're doing a good job,
Yes.
though, at trying. But to have one based in every island, or two in Provo probably, two in Grand Turk, that would be my wish, if that was possible.
Yeah, that minister.
Trust me, I'm sure if I tell her that, she'll find it, she'll get
the
it.
minister's a mover now.
Of course.
I just had a question. This person wants to know if autism is a lifelong thing or can a child grow out of it?
What I would say, and this is a misconception too, there's no cure for it, right? It is a lifelong thing, but with early intervention, like Ms. Skippings mentioned, and then you have speech and behavioral occupational, you can improve on symptoms of autism. So you may not have been a child who communicates socially or interacts socially. With behavioral therapy, that improves. So you improve on those symptoms so you thrive, like I mentioned, and you live a more fulfilling life, right? So it's not to say that my child has this moderate or severe diagnosis and it cannot improve. That's what the intervention does. Maybe a child couldn't speak. Now they're speaking. That's an improvement.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So that's what
Yes.
it's about. And trying to, and get them to a place where when they grow into adults, they can lead their own lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, they have that social interaction where
Yes.
they're able to associate.
And some of those,
Yes.
maladaptive behaviors that they may have had in terms of the stereotypical or the repetitive behaviors, so the lining up things, the flapping their hands, improve on those behaviors.
The meltdowns.
Yes. So, and where they can be like integrated into society and,
Yes.
live a normal life. Yeah.
So what about late in life awareness or late in life diagnosis?
I
Like
was
we
about
talk
to
about-
It
we keep talking about the
happens.
children.
Yeah, but
It happens.
obviously Cheryl and her, social.
I was slow this morning.
So
I
I'm
thought
just
something was
saying.
wrong. I was in slow motion.
Sometimes it's very clear her social special needs.
Hello, let's
Sorry.
stick to the program.
Just saying, like,
You have persons that come later in life and say, you know what, I believe I had autism. Back then we didn't have a name for it.
absolutely.
Right? And now you notice, you pick up, you read, you pick up, wait, I do that, and I have this, and I notice this about myself, and I have maybe sensory processing problems. A lot of us are diagnosed now in our late years with ADHD, right? And it's really, really common, and females especially, we're being diagnosed now because it's like back then, and the research also shows that disorders such as autism and ADHD was more diagnosed or more prevalent in males, and we do have females with those disorders as well, and the rate is rising. And I want to say, even with autism, right now in the entire world, it's 1 in 100. That's how prevalent it is right now,
wow.
right? Yeah. For us, she mentioned 75 children, about 60 of them are on the spectrum.
Yes.
Wow.
That's who we know about, not
Numbers
those at our
Yes.
home.
100 times.
And that's who we have reached or have access to at the moment.
So I
Yes.
think you hit on a major point, because if we all can think back growing up, there might have been individuals that even
Yes.
just not education needs, but the social interaction,
Yes.
maybe they got frustrated a little too quickly, they were sensitive to certain things, and now
We just simply said they were shy.
Yeah.
They didn't
Yes.
talk to
maybe
anyone,
had
so they were
anger
shy.
issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They might have people who were habitually incarcerated because
awkward or
yeah,
playing a thing.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, they would get upset because you didn't understand their behavior, but
Yes.
they didn't.
Yes.
So how do we approach that now? I'm very, very curious.
I think it lies in that individual to seek sort of an assessment or something for themselves, right? I would say that we've reached a good point in the world where because of education, because of the advocacy, we're now realizing it more within ourselves if there is a problem, or maybe your parents tell you from you as a child you was like this. Like I have in my family a long history of, everyone just spoke late, right? And you're like, well, some of that could be true speech delay, but some of them could be autism as well. So that sort of thing. And those individuals who are now in their adult life facing that, it would have to be sort of reaching out for yourself and taking the initiative to seek help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about autism because we know it's Autism Awareness Month, but we know that you also have a lot of other special needs and challenges.
Yes.
I remember the day you launched, and your aunt, Mrs. Noreen Lightman McCoy, she mentioned, you know, certain words that we use or phrases that we used to use, and she said now we say we're differently able. You know, you're not physically challenged or disabled or something like that.
Or we say neurodiverse.
Yes.
Neurodiversity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some of the other special needs that you're looking at in your department and concentrating on?
Well, ADHD is always there because children with autism and normal children, stop saying normal, Lord. Our children in the mainstream classrooms, we can have ADHD as well, right? And then there's Down syndrome. There's quite a few within our classrooms throughout the Turks and Caicos Islands. When we did our tour in January, I met quite a few. And for me, actually, that was my first time being around children that have Down syndrome, actually.
Is that,
yeah.
Is it like autism where there's a spectrum as well with Down syndrome? Like it ranges in terms of the level of condition?
No,
or?
based on my knowledge, I don't believe so.
Okay.
It's a genetic disorder.
Yes.
And you notice them by their facial features.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. But they're on our radar, of course, and we're doing our best to see what resources we can provide, because they do receive behavioral therapy and speech therapy. And you would find a lot of persons with children with Down syndrome, they tend to move away to get that assistance because we as a country, we were not theirs yet.
Yes.
And so I'm hoping as we move along and get more clinicians in, and they can be able to return home, and we can help them as best as we can.
And that will fall under the special education needs.
So special education needs. Yes.
What about you as providers of the service, as specialists, as experts, and your staff base? Do you receive any kind of training or sessions that, you know, help you improve as well, your relationships with your clients, parents, society?
Well, as a department, like we are specialist based, which we provide services, and so each specialist have their own training they will have to go through to sort of renew. Say, for example, you're licensed and you're a BCBA, or like you're a clinical psychologist like myself, and you're licensed probably outside of the country. You have to get continuing education credits to sort of meet that standard to get accredited, right, for what you're doing. But as a department, that's one of my focus for our staff. And just last month, last month, they went to a special education convention in Texas.
Oh, wow.
And she can talk more because she was there. I wasn't there.
I would say it was very enlightening and empowering. It was the Conference for Exceptional Children, CEC, in Texas. It's annual, so hint, hint, wink, wink to our minister.
They'll be there. They'll be there.
You have to tell her that twice.
Run it back.
It was lovely because we were able to join with schools, educators, professionals from around the world. We met people from the Bahamas and other Caribbean countries that came, shared experiences. We all learned of new developments and things that we can incorporate here in Turks and Caicos. There was even a portion of it that dealt with the legal aspects of some things like the IEPs, all of these frameworks that surround special education. So this was awesome. This was the first time that I got to the assistive devices. It was like a kid in the candy store. So there was a device that would communicate for you, and you use your eyes to type on the screen.
Really?
Yes, that was awesome. First time seeing it. We have students now that use assistive devices to communicate right here in our government schools. Like the iPads, they use apps on their iPads where they touch what they want, and it would say, I want juice. I want to go to the bathroom. Students that are nonverbal. And so I believe these things are necessary. So even though we are here and we may not have experienced some of the needs that others have experienced, to be able to come together at a conference and learn, we are able to provide and meet some of these needs or put things in place before the need arises.
Yeah. You know, I believe it takes a special kind of someone to work in your field.
Absolutely.
And I think Z Jolly, our producer Zoya, those of us in the news, constantly reading articles, seeing videos, or watching the news, we oftentimes see individuals being abused when they're not able to help themselves or they have some sort of challenge. How are you screening your staff to ensure that our children with these special needs and challenges are protected?
In terms of interacting with our staff?
Yeah, yes.
Yes. Well, I mean, we sort of supervise our clinicians, especially Ms. Skippings, and she's in charge of their scheduling. But it comes back to interacting with the parents for them to notice things. But as it relates to care, especially, for example, like the SNAP Center, you know, we have our head teacher, and she always observes, and no one does anything, I guess, behind closed doors where we don't know what's happening in that room,
So
right? There's supervision, but they're professionals, and we hold them at a high standard, and they also have their ethical standards that they should uphold, do no harm, you know, and provide care, you know, to our children. I don't foresee that as a problem.
Yeah. No, we're gentle people, but
Yeah.
you know, it
But
happens.
sometimes
and
it happens.
Yes.
You know, kids,
Yes.
you know, with special needs, and all children, they kick, they
Yes.
punch, they,
Yeah.
you know, they're
Yeah.
touchy-feely.
Certain level of frustration.
Yeah,
you know,
but I
in
think
the parent.
that can be taken from a screening point when we are hiring these individuals
Yes.
as well, and
Yes.
human resources comes into play, and
They'll be
it's
flagged if they have.
yeah. And an
issues in the
example
past.
in the hiring process, there's always 3 persons in there: a human resource person, 2 persons from our department there,
Yes.
and there's certain feel as a clinician, as an educator, you can
You
feel
look out
something
for,
out, and
yes.
you look out for, okay, she didn't answer this question well, or I don't like this, or you know, it's a discussion. It's not like we need a speech pathologist, hire her. No,
Yeah.
you know, we
Go through the due diligence of it.
yeah, and we would rather not have one than to have one that's not
course.
right
Yeah.
for our country.
Of course.
Yes.
So going back to you guys being a new department, what has the reception been in terms of the educators, the teachers, parents, the community? You know, we've been waiting for this department for a long time.
Yes.
People have been, there's individuals, Turks and Caicos Islanders with children with special needs that haven't relocated, that've been here kind of screaming for
Yes.
this for quite some time. So what has the reception been
I
in
think
terms of
we've
since?
We've been well received so far.
Yes. Some of the parents are very excited.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're excited as well to hear from them and to receive emails from them reaching out for help. And they're like, oh, thank you for responding so soon. And I'm like, yeah, that's what we're here for.
I can imagine.
but
Good feedback.
it's heartwarming. It's heartwarming because they're at a point where they've been trying and now there's help.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're happy to work with them. And we've been doing well so far with our local parents and with the schools. The teachers as well are relieved that there's some kind of assistance. Our therapists go into the schools
Yes.
and do behavioral therapy and speech and language therapy once per week here in Providenciales.
Group and one-on-one.
Group
Oh,
therapy,
really?
yes.
And they managed to go to all the government schools. And
Well, right now
2
they
per
tackle
term.
2 per term,
Okay.
but they go to all on the different islands, to Grand Turk and
Yes.
North and South Caicos. But Providenciales, as you know,
Yes.
they have a lot of schools.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's a long
So
way
she's
from
managing
zero,
as she
so
can. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So it's
Yeah.
better than what we had, of
Absolutely.
course, and it's a step in the right direction.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
Yeah.
We've
For those
dedicated.
parents listening to you right now or watching, how do they contact you?
So we do not have our own office yet. We are based in the Ministry of Education downtown, upstairs, Sammy Bean Plaza.
Yeah. And we have a website. Our websites are not yet. An email address.
Yes, you can email
Send.
us at sens@gov.tc.
You
We're
can
getting
also
there.
slide in the DMs on
Yes, on
Instagram.
Facebook and Instagram.
And then reach out to us too, because we're public
do.
faces.
I mean,
They
they know
know
to
us.
find y'all.
Yes.
They do.
And someone, telling, and that's why we did the tour in January to the different islands, to the schools, and then, okay, we're here, here's what we have. So those parents could be able to reach out to us.
All the government schools know you exist. All the
Yes, they do.
principals, they know if they have.
Yes.
They can call you, schedule things if they identify something in terms of behavior with the child. And they think they can call you in for an assessment. And
Yes.
Yes,
and
they
this
can.
is all real and going on live right now.
All real and going on live.
And we also have the educational psychologist within the Department of Education. She's there. And then we have a special needs education officer, Ms. James, that is in charge of the special needs teachers. So she knows, how to get it through, the pipeline. Right? And what we have coming up also too is a quarterly newsletter. It's coming out.
Stay on the wall.
I won't say tomorrow, but it'll be out by Monday every 3 months. We just finished our first edition of our newsletter, and what it will be about is educating you about our department, what's to come, our calendar, special events that occurred, and also feature stories. And this edition, we're featuring a brilliant little boy named Connor Williams. He has Down syndrome, and they are currently stationed in Florida. But we do provide assistance to some persons living abroad. For those children that are seeking their services, we do that as a department. Yes.
Is there, talking about the children, is there an age limit where you stop offering assistance or service, or is there?
It's 3 to 21 on the books, right?
We out, Cheryl.
Yeah.
3 to 21 on the books in terms of providing services, but of course, if persons reach out to us beyond those ages, we can see how it is that we can help. And we forgot to also mention our partnering organizations that are abroad, One World, Therapy Abroad, Hearing the Call, and they are there to help us if we need such things as wheelchairs. We have those organizations that are there to help, and they'll be coming in once a year to do assessments, therapy camps. We have 2 teams coming in this month. We forgot to mention that. 1 week for each team, doing various assessments and providing audiology testing for hearing aids and that sort of thing.
So they come for a period of time and offer their services
throughout the year.
Okay. So do you want to plug those dates now? Or parents have already signed up? You guys have your list already?
It's coming through the schools. And yes.
So like we said, we have already partnered.
Right there.
We have already partnered with the government schools for the audiology screening. That is end of April to early May, and we have a list of 154 students from our government schools.
We got to play
on all islands.
Yes, on all islands.
We got to play catch up.
The visiting South.
No, we didn't come to play. We are on the ball. We came in from the first day, got right into it.
Yes.
They said, "This is your budget. This is this," and we got right to it. Yes.
You guys are a government department, and you work for the government of the Turks and Caicos Islands, and you're talking about government schools. What sort of advice or assistance is there for someone with a child in a private school?
Well,
what do you tell that person?
Well, we the services are available to private school students as well, but since we are based in government, we are more able to go into the government schools, and we have more access, free access to the students in the government schools. But our services, we do have private school students that are enrolled for behavioral therapy. We do have them enrolled for speech therapy. It's free for everyone.
Okay.
And classrooms such as the Richmond Hill classroom, special needs classroom, and then Ashley's Learning Center. We partner with them. They know about us. I've had meetings with those persons in terms of providing them to say this is what we have and here's how we can partner moving forward. And the Ashley's Learning Center has an event coming up next week, a fundraising event, and we'll be there, bright colors. Our whole department, because we purchase a table because that's we want to help and we want to be there to support them because they were here before us, right? And since we're going to be the governing body when it comes to special education needs, then we want to be involved and help all those different classrooms, and not just government like you mentioned, but this is still our children in the Turks and Caicos Islands, and they need our assistance.
So I have a question. You guys may not know the answer to it, but I'm quite curious about. And we all have gone through the education abroad system, whether you got a scholarship or through private funding. And sometimes you have something that you're passionate about, and there may not be an opportunity home to accommodate it. For example, even the clinical psychology, which was your original training, and maybe even in this particular field. Now that you guys exist and students can pursue education in this field and a career in this field, like, have we identified Turks and Caicos students that may be away in school studying similar things, or are we encouraging young people to now
My
pursue?
minister provided me a list of children,
Hey,
students away.
yeah.
They're on the ball. And we're looking into internship programs for when they can come for summertime, and also therapy abroad, for instance, wants to send interns down here from their schools that can provide speech, behavioral, occupational, until we can get our full-time staff.
Oh, that is
Well,
amazing.
let's take the other side of that then. I bet you I got them now.
All right, let me see.
Do we have any students, say from SNAP Center or any of your programs, who have graduated, have reached a level where they can now join society, where they're employed and working somewhere?
I can answer that one. So yes, we have students from SNAP that has left SNAP because you leave at age 21 and have integrated into the working world. There's someone at IGA. I was speaking with Ms. Paulette, our head teacher at SNAP, and she was telling me about the transition process. So after the student received the job, she worked along with the student for a month at IGA, and just to get the workers sensitized and to wait until the student was comfortable and get him in the flow of doing what. Yes, and then afterwards she would leave him on his own and go back and check on him monthly. And now he's full-fledged working in IJ on his own, and he'll just hail her when she walks through the store and say, "Hi, Miss Paulette."
That's really
That's awesome.
in the 21st century. This is the kind of milestones that you kind of look forward to in a developing nation.
We don't have many, but yes, we have started.
Do you use that individual, or do you plan to use that individual kind of as an ambassador to show the others at the center that, hey, this is achievable?
Well, that's something that we can do.
We do notice that in the recent issue of Fortis calendar, they did feature, I think it was 2 of them from IGA.
Oh, really?
That wasn't the one that graduated SNAP, but just to show that there are special needs individuals out there that have transitioned into the working world.
And that's a part of our program as well, transition planning from primary to high school, something that we're working on right now, and then high school into our community. Yes.
I feel proud. I don't know about you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
You guys are way ahead of the ball.
Would you, before we go, we do have a few minutes left, but tell us about your activities and dates again. Just recap those for us. What's going on for the rest of this month? And would you have planned maybe further afield? Okay,
so Fridays in Blue, remember. The 26th is our fun day at SNAP. The 27th is our walk.
And the fun day at SNAP is open to the public?
Is open to the special needs students.
Just the students?
From all over.
From all the schools.
But the walk is open to everyone.
Yes.
We want you to come out and walk and eat breakfast with us when you're done.
We hope to see you guys.
Yes.
What time was it?
6 a.m.
Wake me up, Shivago.
And then moving forward, we have like SNAP Sports Day. We have another team coming in June to do behavioral and speech camp. In November, we plan to have a special needs conference, because that's special needs month. That's November. A week of activities.
And the conference, like parents with children with special needs will be invited to attend as well?
Yes.
We'll have to have you guys back to make sure we plug that.
Awesome. So that's things that we're going to do throughout the year, but look out for our newsletter. It gives you more details on our calendar every term.
And our assessment dates again are the end of April, the 21st to the 28th for comprehensive assessment, and the 27th to the 4th of May for audiology assessment.
And
all free, of course.
At the schools, at particular schools?
It'll be at
we
SNAP
have
the SNAP Center, okay.
Last year it was done at the schools, but this year we're trying to keep it in one central location so that they don't have to, we can maximize time, they don't have to move around. So it will be at SNAP.
And then in South Caicos and Northern Grand Turk, they have their own locations too that we'll be doing it. We'll move with the team and take them. It's a good team of 8 and a team of 12.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shivago asked you earlier if you had a blank check, what would you wish for? But if you just had one wish right now,
number one,
this genie coming out of the bottle right now, what would you wish for?
Each of you.
Yes.
Genie coming out of the bottle, I'll have a special needs school on every island, fully equipped with all professionals, clinicians that we need to assist our students.
And Mrs. Skippings?
I think it would be for teacher training. I would like for all of our teachers to have some sort of training in special education. I think it would go a long, long way.
That's a very good answer.
Yeah. They got us stumped this morning. They got us stumped. You better admit defeat.
Yeah, no. Listen, I've never, like, we do this show all the time and we hear people come and they talk about what they have plans, especially civil servants, what's coming up. I don't think I've felt this proud in terms of a new department accomplishing so many goals and so quickly. And it's something that people were like harping for so long. I have friends that have children that are autistic or on the spectrum with special needs. In the complaint, I have friends that have left for so long and some that have stuck it out. And to know that you guys are not only here meeting their needs, but you have these grand plans and things you've accomplished as a parent, as a Turks and Caicos Island, I couldn't be more proud of both of you and your department and your minister. I hope you guys continue to find the energy to do this, the patience. I know it cannot be easy. I'm sure it can't be easy, but I really hope you guys continue with this conviction. I am so proud.
Yes.
Just one of our prayers.
I concur.
Yes.
But just before we go, we have a minute left. Shivago talked about stigma, we talked about anxiety and frustration, we talked about challenges. What's your message to Turks and Caicos?
I want us to be more accepting, more engaged also too with this. This is not parents with special needs problem, but this is a country, this is a countrywide thing that we all have to address. We all have to come together and see how we can contribute and assist each other. That's what I would like to see. And regardless of who's in power or who is our government, it spans across that to say this is something that the country needs, and we're going to give our full-fledged support, financial resources, whatever it is that we need to meet this need.
Yeah.
I love this.
Me too. Me too. Too bad there's no program I can enroll you in right now.
I already tell you. 3 times I have to read the same page in the book each time.
This has been First Edition. We have had Dr. Anya Malcolm Gibbs, the Director of Special Needs Education Services with us, and Mrs. Lashaunda Skippings, who's the Coordinator of Assessments. I think for the first time we've really met our match.
Absolutely. They were way ahead of us. In fact, you guys were too prepared. I don't appreciate that at all.
Thank you both, ladies, for coming. As Shivago said, we're extremely proud of what you do. We're thankful for your service. Continue to just serve and to do good for your people. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you for having us.
I'm Cheryl Ann Forman.
And I'm Shivago Jolly. Stay blessed, Turks.